Hello, everyone. Welcome to Manage the Wild. I'm your host, Nick Madsen. Today, we're going to be talking about the decision that was just made by the Supreme Court. So, it's involving the Pebble Mine, and it's been going on for the last 10 or so years. There's a company out of Canada that's trying to start a mine in Bristol Bay area. It's called Northern Dynasty Minerals Ltd, and they are out of Canada, and they are hoping to put a mine in Bristol Bay called the Pebble Mine, and it's been approved, struck down, approved, struck down, approved, struck down, and finally the EPA stepped in a year or so ago, shut it down. Now they've taken it all the way to the Supreme Court, and actually this time it was the state that has taken it to the Supreme Court because they want to open it back up for the possibility of mining. And ultimately, the Supreme Court rejected their bid and said that it's up to the EPA to decide whether or not they should be allowed to do this. So there's been a bunch of interesting things going on with this. When you first look at it, it shouldn't be that bad. What really becomes the problem for these mines is their disposal sites and the material that they are um, discharging from this mine is actually going to be discharged in a few of the waters that are going into Bristol Bay. So some of the tributaries that are going into Bristol Bay are going to be fed with the discharge from this mine. Also, as we saw in the Colorado River, sometimes earthquakes or whatever happen, and these holding sites, before they are cleaned, end up breaking, and all this material ends up being dumped into the river, which is causing a lot of uncomfortableness. Bristol Bay is one of those last pristine locations in the United States. Even in North America, there's not much else that is as pristine. There's a whole lot of different salmon runs. There's a whole lot of different herring runs that are going on, and the amount of wildlife and the different things that are going on in that ecosystem just make it's one of those just one of a kind type areas. And there's a whole bunch of different groups that are fighting this, and one of the groups is actually the native tribes in the area, the native tribes in Bristol Bay and in Alaska itself. And they are going to be impacted and affected if this mine was to go through. The Canadian company said they would be hiring locals to help with the mine, but ultimately, if the mine collapses or causes problems, you have an environmental catastrophe. You have all these salmon populations wiped out, all these herring populations wiped out, and it could do irreversible damage. We've already seen it in California, Oregon, Washington, and to be able to take this and move this up north and cause damage, ultimately the EPA said there's too much risk, and they didn't allow it. Went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court just struck down the proposal to reopen or revive the Pebble Mine, so to speak. I don't know what your guys' feel on this. I'm kind of up in the air. I'm pro-business. I like the fact that people can open up businesses and support their families. But in the back of my mind, it's businesses or things like this that make me uncomfortable. Now, if you look at what China and some of those other countries are doing, they're going around to different countries within Mexico, Canada, a lot all over the continent of Africa, and they're opening up mines, and you just see how these mines are running. But you know that the resources and the materials are important for the different technological things that we're doing. So you understand how important these mines are, but then you see the damage that they can cause. For this one, I think it's a win for Bristol Bay. Having been to Alaska, never to Bristol Bay, but having been to Alaska and seeing how gorgeous everything is from Skagway all the way down to Ketchikan, and going to those different places, it would be something that would be, it'd be horrific, in my opinion, if you had an environmental disaster like that where this mine and all the tailings and all the discharge was dispersed out into the ocean, killing off the ecosystems and all the different things. I think we're doing enough damage as it is. It's kind of nice for me to see this kind of as a win. You guys may like it or disagree, but I find it a win for Bristol Bay, at least for that area, and something for my kids and their kids to be able to see in the future. All right, you guys, have a great day.